Hello, everyone. Welcome to a scene for Living World of Darkness, the Changeling venue set in New York City. In this scene, we have Charles has managed to gain access to a certain crime scene that he read about that was that seems a little bit suspicious. Earlier, a few days ago, and yeah, so he is. I imagine he's. We could start with him already at the hotel.
Mhm.
Um, and
He's
he's being. Go ahead.
he's probably being escorted up because he's a guest practitioner here. They're making sure that there's someone there to keep an eye on him and stuff. But he's already putting on his gloves because of course he's going to be in a crime scene. He knows the procedure. He's done this many times before as he's putting on his gloves. And under his arm is like two different sets of manila envelopes. One has been labeled autopsy, and another has been is labeled crime scene. He hasn't looked at either of these yet. He's actually waiting to get into the space of the actual scene of the crime before he opens them up and begins his investigation into things. Take it from a fresh perspective.
Yeah, so he is led to the room. The room hasn't been cleaned or anything yet because forensics teams are still trying to get as much evidence as they can from it, and they don't want the room disturbed. They've even got the immediate guest rooms surrounding that room restricted off so that curious guests of the hotel aren't disrupting the scene of the crime.
Mm.
So he's brought through the barriers and all that.
Mm.
So when he gets there, the scene looks kind of like this. There's actually two beds in the room. There is some blood, but not a lot of it.
Mm.
Um, uh, the most things in the room seem undisturbed. Uh, you can he can tell where the bodies were.
Mm.
Um,
Not necessarily chalk lines, but they probably have like the tape lines depending on where the bodies were and stuff like that. But
yeah, and the card markers and stuff like that. So go ahead and roll a perception alertness.
mm. Okay. Standard diff.
Yep.
I'm just gonna borrow the that thing. I always forget about the huh, 4 successes. Would attention to detail apply?
Yep.
So that is 5 successes then.
Well, okay. Over on one of the far walls, there is a very faint um mark that it, since Charles got 5 successes,
Mm.
he can see it a little bit from where he's standing, but if he gets closer to it,
Mm.
um, is like this circle that was drawn on the wall with like chalk.
Mm.
But the chalk color matches the color of the wall, so it's not easily seen.
Oh, someone. Oh, well, hello there. Fancy seeing you here. Very curious. Hey, officer, does this wall connect to the adjoining adjoining room?
Yes, it does.
Hmm. And it's empty, correct?
It is.
I might want to take a look into it. Not right now, but just keep in mind that I'll be taking a look into that in just a little bit.
All right.
And he actually takes his glove and he like touches like the edge around the circle so he can actually see like the consistency of the like the chalk and everything like that, and takes it in. What a lovely aroma you make.
It's like sidewalk chalk.
Mm.
So like the thick um the thick thing of chalk that you get.
Yeah, very something you buy at any toy store or any you know
You go
retail
get it from the
outlet.
dollar
Yeah,
store.
retail outlet. You could probably get it at a fucking Walmart, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, have forensics swab this chalk circle. We might be looking at someone who might be thinking they're being very clever. And he goes on along his way to the next bits of the crime scene as he takes a look. And it's about this point he's like standing in the center of it, at least as much of the center as he can, as he's looking around the area, taking a view into where all the markers are and everything like that, where the bodies are, blood spatters, everything along those lines. Excuse me.
So at
It's
first
about,
glance, it does kind of look like that um the people that died here was some sort of overdose or something along those lines. The little bit of blood that is in the room could be attributed to somebody hitting their head if they as they fell.
mm,
Um, but not it's not really consistent with any sort of offensive or defensive type of like stab wound or anything like that. Um,
mm,
so, however, there does seem to be a few peculiar items around the room that to somebody that doesn't actually know what they're looking at would just kind of shrug off.
mm.
Make me a perception occult roll.
I think you mean Greymare.
Huh?
It's
Is it
Greymare
Greymare?
in
Is
Changeling.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there is no occult in Changeling.
I thought they had both.
No, only Greymare.
Okay.
And that basically covers everything there. So because
Well,
Changeling has to be special. Anyway.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. Changeling is like the only splat that doesn't have a cult.
It's also the only one that doesn't have awareness. They have kenning instead. So
Werewolf doesn't have it either. They have primal urge.
yeah, there you go. Because we have to be special in our splats. Anyway,
Uh-huh. Okay.
Gray.
Perception Greymare.
Yep, here we go. I don't know if attention to detail also applies because it's either 5 successes or actually that's either 4 successes because I think the one canceled one out. Or is that after the one? I think it took it where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, okay. They did automatically calculate. Okay, so it's either 5 or 8. No,
It does
5 or
not.
7.
It absolutely doesn't matter because
Yeah.
it's an exceptional success.
See, this is why Charles needed to be at this crime scene. It's like you guys don't know what the fuck you're looking at.
There's some ritual tools.
Sorry, go ahead.
There are some ritual tools,
Mm.
like for enacting a ritual. And because it is Greymare, you can tell that there was arts used in this room.
Mm.
And let's see. Definitely the use of Chronos.
Hmm. I'll explain a few things here.
And some ornamency.
Intriguing. Hello, my little tool sets. The aroma of sweet dreams. You know, I would have personally would have gone more with a sandalwood myself, but it doesn't. It seems unsurprising that they would actually go with this methodology. It's more a little more new wave, I think, rather than gaming with more traditions. But no one seems to care about traditions these days, do they? Now I have to wonder about you. He says as he pulls up like the like I don't know what exactly what occult ritual tools there, but I'm going to assume there's like the type of knife. Have you ever spilt blood, or are you the one that only spills that to the blood of virgins? Depends on your interpretation now, isn't it? Oh, what's that? Oh, don't be modest. Oh, your secrets are safe with me, whether you have actually spilt blood or not. It's very important, depending on the methodology, though. Wait until after this month. Now, I have to question, though, of course, the arrangement you find yourself set in here. He sort of looks over at the chalk on the wall, tries to get an idea of whether this was it's like a direct line, but where the direct line of where the circle's going to is towards the bed, or is it towards the ritual altar, or is there a particular area where the circle seems to be focused?
It's across from the quote unquote altar. There are candles positioned around the room. And on what they were using for an altar was basically just the dresser that they had moved because for some reason this hotel didn't secure it to the wall, or they did and they ripped it out.
Well, having worked at a hotel, the dressers are usually pretty heavy. So they're not necessarily bolted to the wall. They need to be able to move in order to get behind things. But
right. But there were 5 people, and Charles is getting the feeling that they may have been magical of some kind. So,
yeah, this was not some random circumstance. This is something else.
No.
It's about this point that Charles actually does pull out the he sets down the autopsy photos in a place where it's not going to disrupt the crime scene or anything like that, but still at ease of access. It's about this point he's actually going to start pulling out the photos and holding them up to certain areas of the room where they were taken, and trying to get, especially if it's pictures of where the bodies were and stuff like that, he'll get up close. Sorry, I'm gonna need to invade your personal space for just a moment. Need to get your best side, as he says, as he's holding up the camera, the picture to where it's just at exactly the perfect angle of where the body once was and stuff like that. Shame I won't be able to actually get to touch those soft lips of yours there. But I guess but a picture's worth 1,000 words. Now, what words are you going to be telling me today? Says as he's looking in between different things. But
in one of the pictures, one of the bodies, and this is one that is a little less decomposed than the rest. It actually still had pretty good. It was still pretty solid. Some of the bodies had already started to congeal by the time they had got there.
Jesus.
Made it a little messy to move. But in one of the pictures, one of the bodies is actually slumped against that dresser. And go ahead and roll a perception investigation again on the dresser.
Perception investigation. Okay. Would criminal psychology or attention to detail apply on this one?
It'd be attention to detail.
Okay. See how this goes. 5 successes.
Jesus. So there's definitely blood on that dresser. And as he's holding the picture up of the body that was slumped against it, he can see that where the blood is on the dresser is where that body's head was. So he can infer that that is the position the body landed in when it hit the dresser.
Mm-hmm. Which also implies that they were the one possibly conducting whatever ritual was being done. But
that's a safe inference there.
Mm-hmm. But now the real question is this: was this person intentionally doing this massive sort of situation? Did the ritual go bad, or with the auramancy going around, was someone puppeting?
That's the question, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. There's going to be a little bit more investigation around this room here before we go into the next room and see see if there's anything left over there. Most likely not, if they haven't bothered to take a look into it. But you never know. We'll have to find out here. But right now, Charles is like, Who was officer? Do we have a name on this individual? Is he holding up the photo?
He looks. I'm not exact. I don't know. I don't think the names have been released yet. I don't think we even have that information.
Well, as soon as we manage to figure out a name or get an ID on the bodies, let me know as soon as possible. I'd like to know more about this individual. Seems we have a bit of a cultist streak going around here. Ritual gone bad. After all, they were doing enough drugs. Probably got a little too excited over some fanciful thing. As he picks himself back up, and he's...
The officer looks at Charles and is like, "You mean some fucking witchcraft bullshit?"
Yes, some fucking witchcraft bullshit, Officer. Officer Dinkins, is it?
Sure. He is tired. He's been there a while.
There are more things dreamt of in heaven and earth than dreamt in your philosophy, Horatio. And some people buy that bullshit and eat it up and slurp it up for breakfast every day. And unfortunately, we're dealing with some individuals that have decided that that's exactly what was going to take them right down to their graves. So, take it into your report and official reporting that we are dealing with a set of individuals who are not only drug addicts and hippies, but decided that they take a nice experimental train into the occult.
All aboard, choo choo. He takes out his notepad and makes the notes.
I'm finally getting to pull out the William Dafoe side that I always wanted to. Anyway. Kind of makes me feel like river dancing.
So, fucking... I'm gonna throw this out there because it's funny. On one of the in the report that Charles has on one of their phones, the song "Highway to Hell" was playing at the time of their deaths. I'm on a highway to hell.
Not what I would have chosen for the particular occult ritual, but hey, if you were planning to open up some gateway to a demon, might as well send your way on down. But yes, Charles is getting along his way. He's fucking owning this crime scene. I'm sorry. It's like everyone else is just like, why are we even here?
Dude, I'm like 5 successes every roll, like fucking bossing this investigation, man. It's great, but still.
I mean, I'm more than certain he's not going to like solve the case on the first crime scene, regardless of how well he's going
but
to do
he's going to have some really juicy information to take back to his liege lord. To
a lot of people who are interested in this matter. So. So yeah, Charles keeps going around there, and I mean, like I said, he's still picking up photos, and taking a look into things, like making sure certain things haven't like been moved since he saw there, or if they picked up certain bags of evidence, because I mean, certain things had to be bagged and tagged. It's actually probably impressive the fact that they left the ritual components there, probably because they didn't really know what to, ironically, they didn't realize to put it up there as a possibility for something to look into.
They were like, oh, they weren't quite finished with the crime scene anyway, but it's like, we don't know what to do with this stuff yet, so let's just wait.
Well, at this point, like, Charles is putting fucking tags on this thing. It's like fucking ritual stuff, you know, getting that here. He's actually starting to go around, and he's actually starting to talk to the victim. He's talking to the victim scenes. It's like, now, obviously, you three, he says, as he's going on over to these ones in their various different areas, weren't necessarily the ones conducting said ritual, but were you trying to stop it? Were you aware it was happening? He says, as he's looking at the way the bodies are slumped and stuff like that, it's like their positions. Like if two of them were in the bed while one guy was at the altar and one guy's like, you know, in the restroom, or you get what I'm saying here, because it's very important for him to know whether or not they were all participating, or if one person was doing it and they were either A, trying to stop him, or B, they were unaware of what was happening until it was too late.
So, according to the photos and how the bodies were positioned around the room, they indicate that they were willing, well, seemingly willing participants of whatever was going on, and the one that was slumped against the dresser was likely the leader.
Mm-hmm. And there was a total of how many people in this room?
5.
So we got 2, 1. You know, get your nice pentagram going, and we got the candles in the right place. Yeah, bring it on here. Yep. Now Charles is like looking at this as just like the fact that none of these people got this idea as a fucking report for the idea that this could be fucking some kind of cult. Well, you know, I mean, it's not a real, like, I mean, it's for the cops, even if some investigator was like, okay, these guys, if someone has in the know, it's like, yeah, no, this was some fucking occult ritual that went bad or something like that. They're not going to be, it's like, magic is real, you know what I mean? But even then, it's going to be like, no, this is clearly, obviously, these people were participating in a magical ritual. But regardless of whether you believe that shit's happening. But,
in the report, there is someone that had mentioned it, but it was quickly dismissed as an option. Like, why?
Better give that guy a fucking. Well, who was the one who was the officer that suggested a magical ritual? Officer Perkins. We'll give Perkins a fucking promotion, right? And it's because the man has more brains in his balls than any of you. So
Absolutely. No, I guarantee you, somebody's getting fired.
Oh man, but yeah, no. So he's continuing going on. I mean, like I said, he goes through all the photos. You'll have to let me know if there's any other things you want me to roll as far as that. But I'm sure there's going to be only so much he can get from there until he like looks at the autopsy photos. But he'll eventually move on to that, and he'll start looking at there. And I'm sure there's the autopsy report as well over the different bodies as he's like looking at them, and he's looking at the room, and especially where the different sections are.
Yeah, it lists the different drugs that were in their system. They all had amounts of cocaine and mushrooms. So.
Well, what do you know? They say don't mix your drugs. Don't mix drugs and magic, kids.
Right?
There's certain people that could probably learn from that lesson, he says as he mutters to himself as he's like, oh, fighters.
Gee.
Why is he stereotypical, Charles? Oh man, fucking Charles. It's racist. But yeah, I mean, he's looking at that. He gets the autopsies. He's like, okay. He's gonna make like a few other sweeps, and like he takes his time. He talks like he's doing his usual thing as he does when he goes into investigations. He's talking to just about everything in there. He talks to the goddamn TV, even though this is like, now what did you see on your little screen? Wouldn't you like to tell me? He says as he like taps it. No, not today. Didn't figure. But you got to see the reflection of everything that got to happen in here, didn't you? Through a mirror darkly. That's the thing about these wide screens, though. I wonder if you're plasma or high definition. Oh, high definition. Well, maybe when you feel like talking, or at least showing me a nice little home video of what was going on that night, let me know, he says as he keeps on going. It's weird. He's talking to just about everything in the room, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense, but he's just going along. It's his method. And the fact of the matter is, he's getting goddamn results. So...
Right?
So, regardless of how the cops are actually feeling it, it's just like, oh.
Get fucking Primal 1 and you'll get even more results.
Oh, that's on the agenda, don't get me wrong. I'm still kind of kicking myself that I didn't do so in the beginning. I really could have just traded out Summer for it, because I never used Summer. But anyway.
Right? Okay,
but,
so is he going to the other room?
He is now going to head to the other room, assuming there's nothing else that he can glean from this area that hasn't already been gleaned, or he is already picked up.
Not really. Yeah, that's pretty much all of the major things that, for some reason, the forensic team either missed or hadn't caught yet, or ignored.
Yeah, or hadn't realized the actual importance of the situation. So yeah, on to the next room over.
Okay. So yeah, you're allowed to go to the other room. And so when he gets to the other room, on the wall that the chalk outline was on, he immediately notices a large mirror on that wall.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? What views did you see on the other side of your screen? He says as he takes the moment to just make sure. He obviously he's more than certain that the mirror was the actual the conduit for where the circle was, but he's still going to take the mirror, have an officer help him take the mirror off the wall just to make sure there isn't like another chalk circle or something.
No, there's nothing.
Yeah, so it's very clear that the mirror was the conduit.
Yes.
For as far as he's concerned, as far as that's like. Either way, You've got other people going on here with this magical thing. It's important. So, looking at the mirror, anything particular fancy about this mirror, or is this just like, they transferred like one of the wall mirrors from somewhere to right here, or is there something
So
special about
no, if he looks at the back of the mirror, it is not a traditional like, you know how most mirrors have this cheap backing. This is not one of them.
And this is definitely not hotel standard.
No, it isn't.
Yep. Okay. That's interesting. So you got this mirror, you drug it into a hotel, and you put it on up. Why would you do that? What secrets can you tell me, oh magic mirror on the wall? He says as he puts it right back onto its hook.
Yeah, it's clear that they probably switched it out with the mirror that was there. And the hotel staff hasn't thought anything of it because it looks similar to the mirrors that they have in there anyway, so...
And not to mention also the fact that this place has been closed off. They haven't had a chance to, clean up the room or anything like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, so still, at the same time, there's got to be like a maker's mark or something like that, like some kind of sort of brand of this store, of this particular mirror. Assuming. This is a lot of assumptions, but you never know. If there isn't one, that's still telling.
It does not seem to be one. It is not a mass-produced kind of mirror.
No. This is someone who's very shy about their art, about their work. Doesn't even want to sign it. That or someone who's very clever and doesn't want to get caught, he says as he runs his finger along like the frame. And at that point, he's looking at himself in the reflection, and he's seeing his real self there as well. And he just smiles that wicked diamond smile at himself for a moment before he looks at something in the mirror, back of the mirror. He cocks his head for a moment, and he sort of turns to where he's looking to go investigate the rest of the room to see if there's like anything else that might have been left behind, or someone may have slipped up on something.
There doesn't appear to be anything. But what I would like you to roll is make sure that you have what I want you to roll. Is a Wits Enigmas.
Wits Enigmas. Okay. I think let me remember what my Enigmas is. I think it's
2.
It's 2. Okay, so that's going to be 8 dice. Let me check my sorry.
Oh, you got your attributes amped up?
Yep, I have. Of course I do. They're amped up. They're amped up until the near the end of July. So
nice.
Yeah,
very
nice. Thank you, time, and the fact that I don't have to increase my difficulty when I use the time realm. Because fuck you, I'm Arcadian.
Yeah, that's a big advantage for Arcadian She.
Oh yeah, no, it's actually huge. Thinking about it, let me make sure what my wits things. Cool-headed and clever retorts I don't think will apply to this, but
no,
that's okay. Let's see what 8 dice will give me. Two successes is still pretty good, but we'll continue.
Okay. So Charles remembers that way back when the Nightmare Trod stuff started happening, that there was mention of a cult that was based out of a hotel in Manhattan. And they were the ones that were creating the scenarios for the Trods to open. It could be inferred that this could be that cult and that maybe they were trying to open a Trod. but it went completely horribly wrong.
Yeah, but that then leads to the other question: who was watching?
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
And were they trying to prevent this from happening, or were they orchestrating?
Yay, more plot questions. Be answered later.
Oh, yes. No 5 successes on this one, but hey, I mean, everything else is putting together into these nice little pieces. So at this point, assuming there's nothing else he can really glean from the other room on the other side here, he's composing his story for the officers as he comes out. He gets done talking with the mirror and like stuff like that. We've got ourselves some weird occult gang shenanigans going on right now. The occupant of the room next door on the night of that particular event is the one who put this chalk circle right here and replaced the mirror on the other side. Why they wanted to do that? Occult rituals, probably trying to do some sort of magical work. Peer through the other side, watch as things go on, or, influence dreams. Regardless of whether or not this was actually an actual thing, or regardless of whether you believe in the occult, or whether or not an actual magical occurrence happened here, what we have is believers. And that's a dangerous thing. Because regardless of when people believe, they're desperate enough to make their magic happen in any way that they can. So, we're looking at a group of occult ritualists here who suffered a rather strange and unusual mess of a potential overdose with someone who may have spiked the drugs. Can't say for sure until we actually see it, but one way or another, they are the ones who managed to orchestrate a bit of this threat. Do we have the guest list of who was staying in what rooms in the other 2 adjoining rooms that night?
Nods. Yeah, the officer nods. It appears he pulls it up, and it appears that 3 of them had because of the guest list, he would actually have the names. I'll get those to you later. 3 of them.
Thank you, Officer Dinkins, for your brilliant ability of oversight.
Yeah. Whatever. He's like, oh yeah, duh. I think he's like his sleep deprived brain is like, oh, right. Yeah, they haven't been positively identified, but we're pretty sure that they're the same people. 3 of them had rented the room where they had all died, and 2 of them had rented the adjacent room.
The one where the circle in the mirror was?
Yes.
Interesting. Then who was watching? Because that means someone else must have been either a guest or knew how to get in and out. Or there's something else I'm not picking up here. Regardless, we're dealing with some nut jobs. True believers, ladies and gentlemen. True believers. That's what makes them dangerous.
You mean like Charles Manson?
Oh yes, Oh yes, I see the lampshade is a lovely shade of Caucasian these days. Officer Dinkins, if you have nothing useful to contribute to the investigation, I suggest you just keep reading the guest list.
That is going on the fucking L1 quote thread. Oh my fucking god.
I've been living for this for the past fucking year to get him in an investigation so I can have the William Dafoe from Boondock Saints size coming out. So
see, the lampshade is a lovely shade of Caucasian.
Officer Dinkins. You mean like Charles Manson? Yes, I can see the lampshade's a lovely shade of Caucasian these days.
Oh my god, that was gold. So the officer just shakes his head and goes back to reading the guest.
See, at this point, Jesus, this guy's schooling us. Fuck.
It's like, oh, he's probably thinking in his head, this is why I'm really glad he doesn't actually work for this department anymore. Like,
and he takes a look around for a little bit more. It's just like, ladies and gentlemen, I have to say that one way or another, this isn't probably going to be the last we see of something of this occurrence. We might see it in a different way, a different space, but I guarantee you, this isn't over. This is just the beginning. For now, unfortunately, if you wanted more insight, next time there's a fresh scene of the crime, bring me right away. Otherwise, for now, you have what I can glean from this place. Walls have ears. Learn how to listen. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
So Officer Dickhead waves
He's like, fucking good riddance.
Like, fucking let the door hit you in the ass on your way out.
And it says that's going on. Charles actually pulls out his phone and he makes a phone call. Hello, Chief. Been a while. Oh, I've been enjoying my time in Brooklyn just fine. I'm sure you've been enjoying not having a thorn in your side these past several months. Sadly, I'm wanting to make a request. I think if you're wanting to make any headway in this investigation of what I am more than certain is going to be something that's going to be quite recurring in future, you're going to want me on it. So either you can negotiate with Brooklyn on whether they want to put me on loan, or you can put me back on the payroll. Up to you.
So I'm going to let that be a voicemail.
Yeah.
And Carol and I have some discussions to have. When the chief listens to that, he's gonna be rubbing his face, going, "God damn it!
Who let him in, Mallory? Officer Grand, in my office now!"
Pretty much, she's gonna be like, "So who the fuck do I have to fire because of this asshole now?" It's gonna be great.
Makes me feel like river dancing.
Anyway. Do you have anything else you wanted to do?
Nope, I think the voicemail there is a good place to end it on.
That's fantastic.
That or my river dancing. I don't know, but either way.
Charles will river dance back to his place in Brooklyn, and that is where we will end our scene.
Oh, he still lives in Manhattan. It's just he works in Brooklyn.
He works in Brooklyn. Okay, so he'll river dance his way to his house, whatever. Back
to my high road.
Thank you, player, for playing, and thank you, watchers, for watching, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.